Welcome back, REDX Nation, prospectors, agents, brokers, trainers, everybody who's watching this right now as we uncover ways to stay productive, positive, and most importantly, focused on staying in motion during these times. We're back with another daily episode of the Stability and Opportunity Podcast. I'm Justin Zimmerman, Director of Content here at the REDX, with a special guest. He doesn't know, but he does now, that about 12 years ago we had met, and it's so funny to have him back on the show, but at REDX, Mr. Dirk Zeller, the lead coach, president, and founder of Real Estate Champions. Just personally knowing him and following him for over the last decade, I know he's made a tremendous impact and influence on so many agents I've talked to, interviewed here, who said they've read his books, they've taken coaching from him, they've downloaded his courses, and so he's had a major influence on so many of the people that you've seen speak and are going to speak, and it's an honor and pleasure to have him here today firsthand to share what he's doing, what he's saying, and how he's helping agents uncover how to stay productive during these times. Dirk, thank you, and great to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Justin, and long relationship with REDX. Really love the culture, the company, and the values you espouse, as well as obviously the great technology and data that you convey to agents.
Thank you so much. And we have a pretty specific lineup today. Thank you for sending that over to me. I really look forward to getting into some of the bullet points right now. And so for everybody watching for the first time, just want to let them know that we have a team of people here behind the scenes who are taking notes, writing down the most important points that Dirk's going to say, action plans, scripts, and little key critical things such as resources and links that you can know and use to take action, to know what to say and do. And so if you're not yet on the list to get the updates, you can go to theredx.com/blog. Wait for the little pop-up to come up and join, because you'll get updates to the next show, as well as any updates and PDFs and scripts that we pull from these shows to share back with you. And if you're on YouTube or Facebook, hit like and subscribe, because we're going to post links to those things in there as well in the description. And so today's show has a specific title. We have prepared by Mr. Dirk Zeller, creating and capturing business in our coronavirus influenced market. I think he's been preparing for this presentation as well. And so could you go over some of the main points that we're going to learn today?
Yeah, I'm going to work with everybody a lot in terms of scripts and dialogues, what they should be saying, how they should be saying it. In fact, we even created a workbook for you all that we're going to put in the chat panel so you can download that, so you don't have to feverishly write some of the scripts and the dialogues that I'm going to give you. They're right there contained in the workbook, as well as a lot of bullet points and concepts and strategies centered around some of the big problems we're experiencing, right? Buyers wanting to pull out, sellers wanting to pull their home off the market, people that are concerned about the health and safety issues of getting their homes on the marketplace. So I've got real live solutions that we've been role playing with our clients to respond to these issues we're seeing in today's marketplace. And I want to be able to convey that to everybody, obviously, in the REDX community.
Thank you. And just to add an angle and lens, because I know you're very aware of the different types of agents out there. And so to give you an idea of the people watching this,
prospecting, follow-up strategies, as well as mostly the communication. What is the messaging today? What should we be saying, and how should we be conveying it, especially when we're in a setting of phone to phone, or in today's world now, Zoom to Zoom, if you will, that we're doing, or FaceTime, that we're doing a lot more.
Fantastic. So I have here in front of me, one of the first things you'd like to talk about is positioning your value and authority. If you're ready to jump into that, we can do it. If there's other things you want to kind of set the audience up with, take that time and lead us.
Yeah, here's the thing, everybody. We've got to make sure that we're really using some key data points in today's market. You have to know more about your marketplace than you used to. You should do what I'd call a weekly review. And let me give you exactly how to do that and the steps to do that. And we'll weave it into conversations so you can communicate. It's right in your workbook in terms of the steps and strategies that you need in terms of the weekly review. But the weekly review should be, you know, the exact number of properties that are on the marketplace. You know exactly the new listings that came on the marketplace in the last week, what the pending sales were in the last week, what the solds were. Now, a lot of us used to do this monthly, but the reality, the market is so fluid, it's changing so quickly, you have to do this every single week. You must do this every single week. So you've got to have inventory, you've got to have new inventory, new listings, pending sales, solds, withdrawns and cancels. Because there's more of them in most marketplaces right now than we normally see. You've got to track that number. Then the other thing you have to do is you have to calculate the percent of inventory sold. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say that there's 1,000 homes for sale in your marketplace. There was 100 homes sold in the last 7 days. That's 10% of the inventory. 100 divided by 1,000, that's 10% of the inventory sold. You have to track that number week over week. I'll give you an example. I was having a conversation with a client yesterday. The percentage of inventory dropped in his marketplace of sales. It went from 23% of the inventory was selling in a given week to last week it was 14%. Pretty big drop, but still really a strong number. I mean, think about it. 14% of the inventory selling. That's still a very active marketplace. Anything in the single digits, high up in the single digits, is still a rockin' active marketplace. Most people, most buyers, most, oh, we're going up the cliff. No. But here's the thing. They're reacting based on emotion. You've got to react and respond and convey to them the facts of the marketplace. One of the most important things is fundamentally doing that. In your workbook, as an example, I've shared some different charts and graphs. There's a lot of people that are fearing the aspect of they have PTSD for the real estate market in 2008. They're going back to that. We're all hearing that, oh, you know, we're going to have a market correction. Oh, we're going to have values drop by 25, 30%. I mean, I had a client earlier this week, we were role-playing through the fact she had a transaction that was going to pen today, which is still going to, close today, which is still going to do, but they wanted to pull out earlier this week because their financial planner told them that the real estate marketplace is going to crash by 20 or 30%. Their financial planner, well, what the heck does he know? I mean, he knows the financial markets, I'll grant him that, and he's probably lost them a boatload of money in the last month. But the reality of it is the real estate market is not the financial marketplace. And you're going to have these third-party interlopers. They're going to try to convince your buyers and sellers that the market is going to go to you-know-what in a handbasket. And if you do not have data that you have pulled and evaluated, you need to, because you've got to be the expert. Justin, you wanted to make a comment?
Yeah, I'm listening on behalf of the audience and a lot of the questions that we're getting in over the last couple of days. And one of the pain points, and this is a perfect usage case, and so you can directly address this because you just scratched the surface of it, is that I'm on the phone with agents and just trying to get a bead for things. And they're saying they have deals that are pending, but they're wondering, like the point of this show is what to say and do. And so if you could just stop for a second and maybe we can create a little script or model this into a script for the agents who need to hear this with deals pending, who have customers that are trying to pull out right now, what would advice or coaching or scripting would you give them to have that conversation to save those sales?
It's on page 7 in the workbook. everybody.
Okay.
So let's go there.
Let's jump
and
ahead.
I will be happy to work through it with you all if you grab. And again, you won't have to feverishly write these down. Literally, I'm giving them to you. Use them. I want to help you. Right? So when somebody says to me, they're wanting to pull back, it's right on page 7. It's what I call a base approach, meaning it's a foundational script that you need to master and engage with. The most important thing is I've got to understand the concern. Okay? I've got to understand the concern. And so in the script, what I'm going to do, hey, when somebody calls me and says, hey, I want to pull out or write pending transaction, I'm going to say it's logical given the news that we've gotten about the coronavirus to have some apprehension and concern, Bob. I totally get that and totally understand that. I'd be worried if you didn't feel a little apprehensive. So it's perfectly normal and natural. Can I ask you, what's your biggest concern? They're going to give me the market's correcting, or if it's a listing as an example, they may give me the safety and security concerns of showing activity and having people into my home. The issue, everybody, and let me be straight up with you, unvarnished here. This is not the time for verbal judo reactionary objection handling scripts. This is the time to understand concerns, because there are multiple reasons why a buyer or seller may be wanting to step back. Don't do a general objection handling trying to blanket everything. You're gonna make mistakes. You need to get into the concerns. You need to drive into the concerns and understand the concerns. What is their biggest concern? Great. Are there any other concerns that are as important as this one? Perfect. Share that with me as well. So, right, you have a concern about market pricing, and that's your highest concern, that the market is going to correct. And your next highest concern is, right, that the economy is going to go down. Whatever it is they're giving you, I'm trying to rank them. Now, this is not in your workbook. This is a bonus today. Write this down. In selling, there's an age-old rule called the rule of 4. And the rule of 4 states this: most consumers make purchases or buying decisions, whether that's a product or a service or a house or, a lender or a real estate agent, whomever it is, they make it for 4 reasons. That's the rule of 4. The rule of 4 is they make it for 4 reasons: product, service, right, etc. The second part of the rule of 4 is they're not all equal. The number one reason, in other words, if I get them to rank them in order, the number one reason carries 70% of the weight of the decision. 70%. So I better know darn well what the number one is. Number 2 is 15%. Number 3 is 10%. And number 4 is 5%. I need to create the ranking of those 4 so I understand how to respond effectively. Having great scripts helps you dynamically, but understanding the 4 and utilizing great scripts and dialogues and delivery is important. Again, this is not the time for verbal judo. All right? Hey, I certainly understand that you have a level of concern with the coronavirus, and I've been talking to all my other buyers and seller clients about their concerns as well, and what the best options might be for their family based on the facts of the marketplace and the trends in the marketplace. What's best for you personally may vary a little bit. So let's invest a few minutes and discuss your concerns specifically so I can provide you the right professional counsel and the right guidance overall. That way we can make the best decision for you and your family. Would that be valuable to you? And then I'm digging. Then I'm pulling data. Inventory is going down. Sales are going up. In a lot of markets, everybody, supply and demand is even more inverted now than it was 30 days ago. Meaning the demand is staying reasonably high. Inventory is coming on the marketplace, and we have more buyer sales than we do inventory. Secondarily, we're going to have a pent-up demand. Meaning, and here's my personal view, everybody, based on the facts of the marketplace, we are going to see buyers and sellers pull back a little bit. There's going to be a percentage of them that pull back a little bit, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, obviously, we want to counsel them, we want to encourage them, we want to engage them, we want to show them the facts, but ultimately, if they're going to pull back after you counsel them well, that's their personal choice. It is. And so you've got to recognize that some people will fit in that box, and then they'll dive back in when they feel safer. That's the issue, that some of them are just not feeling safe and they're going to dive back in. Here's the issue. They'll likely pay more. They'll likely pay more. Because there'll be more of them that will be diving back in at that point because of fear. Key principle of success, everybody. Don't follow the herd. What is the herd doing in today's particular marketplace in today's particular time? They're pulling back. That's what the herd does. How did Warren Buffett make all his money? Hey, he's the greatest contrarian investor in the face of the planet. He didn't follow the herd. Make sure you recognize that's a primary principle of success that you can convey. Understand the numbers. What is the inventory doing? What's the absorption rate doing? What are the showing activity doing? I would be pulling, an example, my data from lockboxes every week. I would be pulling the marketplace data on lockboxes. Sentry Lock, you can pull the data in your marketplace to show showing activity. Now, is it dropping? Of course it is. Because we're doing more virtual tours, we're doing less physical tours, but understand, we're still seeing people buy and sell homes. I got clients, they're killing it right now. Literally killing it. They're not even at their goals, they're at their goals because they're still in the game, they're still focused, and they know that inventory is low and they're persuading their buyers to stay in the game. Here's the second part. Let me give you one more part in terms of this. Concern and then also longevity. What is the longevity of this next home? Is it a 5-year home? Is it a 10-year home? Is it a 15-year home? If they're concerned about a market correction, the truth of the matter is they will be less concerned and there will be no issues if it's a longer term home. I was watching Shark Tank a couple of years ago, and Robert Herjavec made a statement because somebody was promoting this kind of real estate strategy on Shark Tank. And he made one of the most brilliant statements that's absolutely true about real estate. And obviously, he's not a real estate guy. Barbara Corcoran didn't make this, he made it. And he said to everybody, the truth of the matter about real estate is you'll always look brilliant in about 10 years. And he's right. If you look at any 10-year slice period of time in the history of this country, you will likely see strong appreciation in terms of value. Hey, I bought a commercial building in July of 2007. I couldn't have timed it worse. I mean, it went down to 50% of its value. And yeah, I could have handed it back, and because most people in my market were doing that. And I went, well, yeah, I still need a place to run my business from. hey, I'm going to pay rent to somebody, so I might as well pay a rent to it myself. Did I like it went in half? No. But now, all right, fast forward, we're 13 years later. That property is now worth 28% more than I paid for it. Would I have liked to have bought it at the bottom of the market? Yeah, I would have, but I didn't. And I kept paying the mortgage. And for your clients, they keep living in the home, enjoying the home. They'll look brilliant. Interest rates obviously are low. They're historically low. They're not going up. They'll likely stay about where they are over an extended period of time. You've got to be able to counsel the client. 10 years, long term. Secondarily, I would ask, how comfortable are they with their job? You know, because if they're a little uncomfortable in their job, okay, that may cause a valid reason not to buy or not to sell at this time. But there's a lot of people that, quite frankly, are not going to be affected in their job market. They're nurses, they're doctors, they're in the medical field, they work in hospitals, right? They work in government positions. Yes, we had 3.2 million unemployment claims in the last week. I get it. But that's not 160 million. There's 160 million jobs currently in the United States. What is 3.2 million of 160 million? It's not much. It's a small percentage. Are we going to see more in the next week and more in the next week? Yes, we are. But are we going to see 100 million jobs leave the job market? Are we going to see 10 million? Maybe. What is 10 million of 160 million, everybody? See, you got to do the math. You got to do the logic. You got to guide prospects, but you also have to be empathetic, right? We got to be empathetic. We should be all calling our past clients sphere of influence. We should be all prospecting more on the phone. We should be all prospecting around listings and sales. We should be making more calls and activity and engagement than ever before. And these are the 4 things that you've got to focus on when you're in a conversation with anybody. 1, are you okay? Are you and your family okay? 2, are you safe? 3, do you need anything? Is there anything that I can do for you? Can I go get something from you, right? Especially the elder community, which are more housebound. My father's 89 years old, okay? He's really healthy, really spry, successful in life in terms of he's very healthy, but he's more risk than I am and other people are. You know, right? He has a heart condition, but he's still healthy for a guy that has a heart condition. So, is there anything I can do for them? And then finally, you care. You care about people, you care about activities, you care about them, you care about your community. Everybody, we got to get away from some of the things I'm seeing online, some of the memes, some of the self-serving stuff, you know, hey, would you like to be quarantined in this house? That's not professional, everybody. That's not the image, in my opinion, that we want to convey in the marketplace. We want to be the experts. We want to communicate expert status. We want to communicate counsel. We want to communicate, the trends of the marketplace and what's the marketplace doing. Our job is to convey the facts of the marketplace rather than the emotions of the marketplace. Let me say that again, because that's really the key point here. Your job is to convey the facts of the marketplace, not just the emotions of the marketplace. They can do the emotional thing all on their own. They can have that going on in their headspace all on their own. You don't need to add to that. Okay? There's enough of that going on all over the place. Now, you've got to be able to, again, communicate frame of difference. Again, as I said earlier, people have PTSD in regards to 2008. But in 2008, we had 8.2 months worth of inventory when the market corrected. We have 3.1 months worth of inventory today. According to NAR, 6 months worth of inventory would be a balanced market. We're in a seller's market. We're still in a strong seller's market. So let me give you the spatial math strategy on this. We would need nationwide to have a 2x to 3x increase in active homes available on the marketplace for us to just even reach a balanced marketplace. Now, in reaching a balanced marketplace, the appreciation curve will bend. Right? It won't be going up on a really tight trajectory. It'll be much softer in terms of its trajectory. But most of you in marketplaces would need 2x to 3x increase in inventory, or let's go the flip side, a 200% drop in number of buyers. Now, let me ask you this honestly. What are the odds of us seeing a 200% drop in buyers? I mean, think about that logically. Right? If I was from Texas, so that would be what? Slim to none, and Slim just left town? I mean, no way. See, you gotta counsel people. You've got to be able to communicate well. You've got to have good scripts and dialogues. You've got to be able to convey power. You've got to convey expert authority in terms of communicating with your clients and prospects to get them to understand the state of the marketplace. I'm not trying to cause everybody to buy and sell, and I'm in any marketplace. I'm trying to communicate value. I'm trying to communicate data and information. I'm trying to get them to understand what's likely or logically going to happen. I'm trying to give them a well-rounded understanding, and then ultimately they are going to have to decide. But at that moment, I can accept them deciding and saying, you know what? Given all that data and information, Dirk, I really appreciate it, but we've decided to do this. That's okay. I've done my job. I've done my job well. I've communicated well. Now, let me give you one other thing, and I think, Justin, you've got some questions or maybe comments here. Everybody, the sales ratios are likely going to change. I mean, they are. It's not that there aren't going to be a lot of buyers and sellers in the marketplace. There are. We were projected to do 5.4 million transactions this year. The worst year ever in the history of real estate. In 2008, we did 4.12. The difference between 5.4 and 4.12 is 23%. It's a drop of 23%. It's not a drop of 50%, everybody. It's not a drop of 40%. It's a drop of 23%. That may happen. I doubt it. But we're going to have some adjustment in the sales. But here's the issue that you've got to come to grips with. There will still be business. There will still be people listing and selling. Will they be doing it at the same rate? Maybe not. But ultimately, you can have your piece of the pie. You can achieve your goals and objectives. You can earn the income that you want to earn, but likely the sales ratios will change. Meaning, if it took you 10 conversations to generate a lead, it might go up to 14 or 15. doesn't mean the market's bad. It just means, you know what, I got to put a little bit more effort in here because the sales ratios are changing. I would suggest that you all make sure that you're tracking your ratios pretty well and focusing on, okay, if they're changing, shifting, or adjusting, if it used to take 3 leads to do a piece of business or 4 leads to do a piece of business, right, to take a listing or make a sale, and it's now 5 or 6, so what? I mean, come on, what other option do you have? Go get the leads you need. But know the numbers. Here's what I know for successful people. If they know what changed or shifted and they understand it numerically, right, successfully, they'll do the extra work to get what they want. But most of you all are operating via Braille. You're not tracking. Or if you are tracking, you're using like the REDX dialer, those kind of things, you're not analyzing your numbers frequently enough to see the shift or change in the marketplace or in, right, the reach rate or the lead rate or any of those kind of things. So it isn't just, hey, I'm hooking up more to the dialer and pounding the phone more. It's that I'm looking at the results and looking at the stats and change in ratios so I know what's required. Does that make sense, everybody? You got to use the tools and the data that you have in front of you to be able to commute with the prospects. Now, everybody, here's the other thing. In your workbook, I have literally listed out on page 8, 9, 10, etc., of the key themes and highlights that you need to communicate to active buyers. And I gave you a half a dozen things that, right, that you can build concepts, conversations around, and opportunities. Let me give you this, everybody. The active buyers you have right now or had in the recent past that were what I'd call contribution buyers have a better chance now than they have in the past. Now you might be going, okay, what's a contribution buyer? Contribution buyer is a buyer that needs seller help. FHA, VA, right? Small conventional down that needs closing costs. Contributions buyers in this marketplace have better odds than they did in the last 12 months. They couldn't buy a home last spring, summer market because of all the multiple offer situations that no seller was going to take a contribution buyer when they had a stronger buyer or cash buyer or a higher money down buyer. You've got to go through your database and find your contribution buyers. Maybe some of them step back from fear or from just getting beat out on multiple offers over and over again. Now's their chance. Now's their chance. Because in most markets, there aren't quite as many multiple offers as there has been in the past. And these buyers have a stronger opportunity. Here's the other thing, everybody. When this virus moves on and we get back to work as a country and we get back to, people get called back to their jobs, we get back to employment, and people are starting, the people that are on the fence or stepped off the fence, right, are going to start back into the marketplace. We're going to have this pent up demand. And I guarantee you those contribution buyers are going to be back in the boat they were in earlier or worse, meaning they'll have no chance in getting a home when this responds in terms of the marketplace. So I've given you some key points in terms of buyers, pending transactions. I've made 5, 6 different points in there that you can convey to your pending transactions to keep them in tow, so to speak. In other words, one, you made a good decision, Bob. You made a good buy, right? You locked in a great rate. I mean, if they're impending now, they likely locked in the best possible rate that they could get. We saw rates go up in the last 2 weeks. Now, you may go, well, gosh, the Fed moved rates down and then we saw rates go up. Why? Supply and demand, everybody. The reality is we had this flood of refinances that hit the marketplace that lenders were challenged with liquidity issues. You know, it's interesting. Everybody got all excited about the Fed moving the overnight interest rate down by 100 basis points. I will tell you, everybody, for the real estate industry, that wasn't the big move. The big move was the commitment to buy $700 billion, injecting that in liquidity in the market, and over $200 billion of mortgage-backed securities. That was the big move that is positively going to affect our marketplace, because the lending institutions pushed the price up because they were scared because they couldn't sell the paper. No bank holds on to the loans anymore in today's marketplace, right? They're packaging them and selling them off and getting their money back so they can reloan it. If they can't sell their loans off, they aren't making new loans. And so that was the big move. We all went out and posted, well, the Fed lowered the interest rates, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the big move, everybody. It wasn't. So you've got to be strategic as well as well-read enough to understand what's happening in your marketplace, the data, getting the communication right to your clients, past clients' sphere of influence, getting the sellers off the fence and showing them advantages of today. Buyer pool is strong still, incredibly strong. There's still a tremendous amount of buyers. There's sellers that have pulled their home on the off the market. So as sellers coming onto the market or staying on the market, actually, in most markets, your odds are better. Certainly, we don't have a crystal ball, but the inventory has dropped. And in the short run, there's a real opportunity here. We might have a delayed spring marketplace, but ultimately, if they're rebuying, we want them to be able to buy in that interest rate environment that we're currently experiencing. And there's opportunity. Again, if it's a long-term home, long-term investment, long-term opportunity, long-term living in the home, these up and downs that we're seeing really have limited effect in long-term objectives. I think we're going to see more investors hit the marketplace, not because the market is going to correct, but I think when the Dow goes back up to a more normal level, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go, gee, I wish I was invested in real estate. Right now, they're not going to sell their Dow, their stocks to get into real estate. But everybody, I would rather have a good cash flow real estate property than be in the stock market. That's just me. I own 75 rentals. I know that some people are not going to pay me come the first of the month, but I would rather have most of my rent coming in than ride the stock market. Okay? I got killed in 08 in the stock market. I got killed in 99. At the end of 08, I said, I'm done with this. I am going to invest all my money in real estate. I took all my retirement assets and I put them into real estate. I bought real estate rental properties, cash flow rental properties. They've done very well for me. And I will tell you, I think that's going to be a reaction at the conclusion of this as well. We have, if you look at the data, Lawrence Yun, who I think is brilliant, the economist for NAR, we are well below the number of housing starts and housing we need nationwide based on the new home formation stats annually. We're down millions of housing units. And so the idea that we're going to go into correction when we don't have enough housing units, period, is just faulty overall. The goal, everybody, is to be in the position where you can communicate value, where you can dialogue with a client and a prospect, where you understand concern, where you've got good transitional scripts, like I've shared with you on page 7 in your workbook, right? Hey, this is new for all of us. What I know is at some point in time, things will return to normal and this whole health event will pass. Or you could say, hey, we're clearly in uncharted territory and none of us going to sail through this by ourselves. When we're at the point where the kids are back in school, that social distancing has been relaxed and eased, when we're back into more normal patterns of our life, this whole coronavirus thing will kind of be a distant memory and we'll all get back to work. You've got to be able to communicate empathy, engagement. You've got to be able to avoid kind of the verbal judo that I see going on. I saw some scripts last week from a large real estate company, and I just cringed, quite frankly, at them. What they're saying is, hey, if somebody says to you that hey, the market, the virus, not a good time to sell and wait, you're supposed to say, I get that, and yet the market doesn't matter. I mean, how adversarial is that? I mean, would that endear you to be basically accosted and said, well, you're wrong? Or if the client shares a concern that prices are going to fall, then you're supposed to say, then don't sell. But that's not a good reason. Really? That's how I'm supposed to treat a client of mine or a prospect of mine? Now, everybody, you don't want to go the other direction either, whether you're a wimp. I pulled this off the shelf. I read this years ago, and this book, and you can tell when I show it to you that it's really old. It was written by Judd Zeller, who's Zig Ziglar's younger brother, but he wrote, timid salespeople have skinny kids. You can't be timid either. There's a fine line in here, and these scripts and dialogues that I've given you is that fine line. It's not wimp, but it's not right over the top, aggressive, reaching through, trying to convey things that you shouldn't be conveying and being adversarial. Have honest, open, authentic conversations. Use data. You've got to use data. You got to pull it out of the MLS. Showing Time, as a matter of fact, it does a great weekly report of showing activity, both in our local marketplace and nationwide. The title companies, you're in a title market. I know some of you are in attorney closing markets. You won't be able to pull the data, but title companies are really good at in terms of projecting and giving you data on what is in the pending pipeline. In other words, what is opened in terms of pendings every week. As I said, I just saw one from Fidelity in the Portland, Oregon area. It was really a great chart and a great graph. There's a handful of charts and graphs in your workbook that I've given you you could use. It's about communication, conveying. It's about conveying empathy and care. It's about consistency in terms of your prospecting, your lead follow-up. There are 4 probabilities of success: knowledge, skill, attitude, and activities. Knowledge, skill, attitude, and activities. The most important of these right now is activities. It's the consistency of the activities that you're doing and you're engaging. Don't treat this as a vacation. There's a lot of agents that are treating this as a vacation. And I get, hey, I got 2 kids home from school as well. We're dealing with that. My home is in irregular operations as well. We're quarantined in the state of Oregon, right? And so we're not dealing with some of your markets like Southern California and New York and what's happening in Washington State, but we're still under a semi-lockdown. But that doesn't mean I can't pick up the phone, I can't reach out, I can't engage via text and social media, I can't do Zoom meetings and get face-to-face with clients and prospects and build a relationship, and most importantly, build my lead pipeline. So I can keep revenue flowing, but I'm going to have revenue exploding when safety and security returns to the marketplace. Justin, any questions or thoughts or needs?
Yeah, for one, I read somewhere a good host knows when to not say anything and let the speaker go. And so I wanted to not stand in your way. You were on the flow to keep the revenues on the go. And so I think that was really, really fantastic mindset and tactical that you just put down. And I made some notes while you were talking, got some questions, and I put my finger up in the air because I think you reached one of the points I'm trying to get asked on every one of these episodes. And you talked about reaching out to your sphere, doing text messaging, and this question has come up every single time: is now possibly the best moment for sphere of influence marketing? And if so, why do you believe that?
Yeah, it's absolutely the best moment because you're reaching out because you care. I mean, that's what we should be reaching out. Can we serve? Can we, again, go back to, are you okay? Are you safe? Do you need anything? I care. Now, everybody, that's the message. It isn't that plus, do you have any referrals? Nah. Do you think about buying or selling now? Nah. Okay. Now, let me pause. I think there's a reasonable question there. How's your home working for you? Hey, the interest rates are at all-time lows. What I'm suggesting with all my clients is that they review that information, that they do the math. Everybody, most people financially do math on back of the napkin at best. You want to have a conversation on what the real math is. And I'll give you a classic case in point, just me as an example. I refinanced the vast majority of properties that I own under Fannie Mae mortgages last fall. I mean, all the Fannie Mae loans that I had, I refinanced. And the reason why is, and in fact, most of them, I took them from 30-year mortgages to 15. And one property I took from a 30 to a 15 that the payment differential was $18.10 between a 30 to a 15. It's going to save me $67,000 in interest costs at $18.10 a month. Total investment is going to be just shy of $3,000. Gee, $3,000 to get 67. Is that a pretty good ROI? Heck yeah. The question is, for your clients, are they in the right home and are they in the right mortgage? If they're thinking of moving 3, 4, 5 years down the road, if that's the timing, we might want to note that, call them back. The first call, everybody, in my opinion, is those 4 things. You can check on them in 60 days and then open the conversation to kind of right real estate and all that. But those 4 things are the key. And yeah, I mean, I understand that you probably haven't kept up with your past clients in Sphere as well as you should have. That's likely for most people. You've got a rare moment in time where instead of watching endless hours of Netflix to keep yourself busy and lack of boredom, get on the phone more and interact more, because it'll generate more opportunity for you both now and in the future.
As an example, it's been 13 years since you and I talked, and here we are under these circumstances. I'm just saying that's a fact. Right now, these circumstances are allowing people who you haven't talked to or connected with in a long time, for whatever reasons, to reassociate around value. And that's what we're doing right now, is we're trying to do something for the benefit of our audiences.
Sure. And so am I. Obviously, that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing a lot of webinars and a lot of teaching and coaching in these settings, and, giving back to the community, the realtor community, because, quite frankly, I'm immensely blessed over the last 30 years being in the real estate community, and 20 years in coaching and training the real estate community at a high level. I mean, I'm more fortunate than I should be. When you look at the totality of human beings on this planet, I am immensely blessed compared to the vast majority. So I think that's the perception we all have to have. I mean, if you're living in the United States, you're in the top 1% worldwide of wealth. People are not trying to get to Bangladesh to make their fortune here. Right? We're all very blessed.
Yes. I was thinking the same thing, but I thought you'd probably go in that direction. So better from you than from me on this, and that I'd like to give you the opportunity to help the people listening to this right now, because you've laid out, I feel like, the fact math-based approach better than anybody who's come on the show so far. Right now, people are, like you said, are being driven by emotions, not facts. They're being driven by headlines, not reality. And that we've talked about this on some recent episodes, where don't listen to the news, become the news. Go read about what's happening in your market. Go look at the true numbers that are impacting your local, like they say, real estate's local. There's not a reporter reporting on ABC, EFG neighborhood. That's our job now. And that instead of people listening to the headlines about the big picture, what really matters is the small picture. And agents right now, and I made this note before and I was really excited to say it, so I'm glad I'm remembering it right now, is that we have tend to thought of ourselves as brokers of properties, but more so now than ever, we're brokers of information, and that you've laid out the facts that need to be communicated, that information. You know better than me, and I think better than most, on where agents who want to be the brokers of information right now should go to go read the headlines. Who do they get this information from? What's the fastest, easiest way that way, when they get on the phone following the 4 things that you've laid out, they can know where to plug in, whether it's NAR's website or their local MLS, or what are some recommendations? I know Mike Simonson at Altos Research has a fantastic tool that gets like neighborhood specific on that. That way, if you don't want to do the work yourself to look that up, I think there are ready to go places that will help agents accelerate their activity. Like you said, it's about activity right now of all those major things that influence success. And so if you could just drop a list of links or names, people to follow, that agents who are watching this right now can go immediately, take your script, and then plug in their local information.
Well, I think the first person to follow is me. And I'm not saying that with arrogance. Yeah. But if I don't have confidence in what we're doing for our clients and for the realtor community, you wouldn't want to be listening to me anyway. And so join. I
don't have you as a guest either.
Engage us at realestatechampions.com. Right, find us on Facebook, engage with us. You will get these kind of things because we produce this on an ongoing basis. It's not fluff, it's fact. We're teaching real live successful strategies, but there's a lot of good data. The second would be your MLS. You need to do the work in the MLS. You need to find out what your local board of realtors MLS is providing in terms of data, and you've got to look at it strategically, not just as a bunch of raw numbers. NAR is doing a great job of national data. I would be following Lawrence Yun as the economist at NAR. The guy is brilliant. He really does an outstanding job at analyzing the data that NAR is pulling. NAR does a home buyer and seller report annually. They have a number of other reports. Go into realtor.org, go into the research section of realtor.org and spend some time looking at what they produced in there, because you can use it. You don't have to be Johnny Slide Rule. You need to have a few data points and information that you're confident about that creates conclusions and some action. Housing Wire is another very well put together, well researched group of people. Steve Harney at Keeping Current Matters does an outstanding job, I believe. And I think you guys have him on shortly, or one of his people on shortly. I mean, Steve does a great job. He parses and evaluates the data well, and is a good critical thinker. I would look into what he offers in terms of the marketplace. We're not devoid in the real estate industry of data, and we're not devoid of ways we can position ourselves as being an expert. My true belief, everybody, is a relationship is not enough in today's marketplace. You have to be an expert. And it doesn't mean you have to be Johnny Slide Rule, but you have to have data to help sell, because the vast majority of consumers have had innumerous sales interactions. And they have this little filter in the front of their head that says, well, Dirk, you're only saying that because you're a salesperson, because you want to get a commission check. That's their defense mechanism. It's right up here. And the most effective way to remove that certainly is empathy and caring, but more importantly, it's data. It's an unemotional bit of data that you convey in conversations that literally pulls that out of their head, and the message you're trying to get in there now, because it doesn't have that filter in it, it actually penetrates, and they think about it. They don't say, well, you're only saying that because you're trying to make a sale. They're saying, that's an interesting piece of data. That's an interesting conclusion. I hadn't considered that. That's what I want them to do.
Like I said, everybody who's come on the show has touched upon different aspects of what agents should be doing and saying in this time. And I think everybody has a different personality type. We have the analytics, we have the high D drivers, we have combinations of the two, which I think you are one of those people who has the high analytics, but also the high D driver and the disc profile. And for that segment of our audience, especially, I think you've driven home points that they can take and put on the board for themselves. And as we wrap up in the next couple of minutes, I just want to let our audience know, if you're tuning in right now, a little bit later than when we started, that behind the scenes, we have a team of people who are taking notes, capture the scripts, to provide all the resource links, to mention all the people who you should follow, including Dirk, and that we're going to be emailing that to you if you're already on the update list, which is on our blog, which is the redx.com/blog. A little pop-up will show up there. Put your name and information in there to continue to get these updates, as well as all the future speakers. We're going to keep doing this every day until we don't have to. We're trying to eat our own dog food, if you want to call it here, as we make advice and suggestions to you guys, like, hey, go out there and connect with your market in a meaningful and valuable way. Don't watch the news, become the news. That's actually becoming the mantra we're realizing we ought to do and are doing for you as well. And so if you need to stay in touch with what's positive, what's productive, who's saying it, who's doing it. People like Dirk, I'm sure we're going to have him back on the show. This is the place where you should tune into. If you just have to watch a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes just to get what you need, watch the whole thing. We're here for our customers, for our audience, for our industry right now, to make things move, to keep things going and growing, regardless of the circumstances. And so, Dirk, why don't you hang out with us for a little bit as we bring this to a conclusion, have a little post-show, you, me, and the rest of the team, as we say goodbye to everybody else. Is there any kind of final thoughts that you really, really wanted to say that you didn't get to say? That way you don't feel like you're leaving anything on the table.
I've been talking for an hour, so if I haven't said it in that period of time, something's wrong. But here would be my final short thought, everybody. Use your time well, right? In your life, use your time well. You've got a rare moment in time right now. There's some unique things, and I'll give you an example for me. I got 2 teenage kids who are going 10 different directions most of the time. We've had dinner every night as a family since we got quarantined, and that hasn't happened in a couple of years at that level, just because we got kids in ballet and jobs and sports. Enjoy your family, enjoy these rare moments that maybe were caused by this virus. But, quite frankly, I turned to my wife last night and I said, this has been a blessing.
Yeah.
So be blessed by it, reach out, bless others, but recognize this is a short period of time we're all in. Make the most of it.
Thank you, Dirk. That really speaks to the heart of what we're trying to do here. We named the series the Stability and Opportunity, in that maybe not just in your business, the opportunity can lie inside your family and your relationships. And so thank you for helping us bring that forth today. And so we've got another lineup of people next week. You're going to find out who they are. We're going to be putting out those names shortly and soon. Until then, go watch some episodes, catch up on some good sleep, get some hustle out there. And I'm Justin Zimmerman, Director here of Marketing and Content at the REDX. Stay safe, stay clean, stay productive. See you all next week.